My entitled fiancée thought she had pulled off the heist of the century. While I was deployed overseas for 6 months, she secretly moved her toxic mother, her deadbeat brother, and her hidden lover into my newly built $10 million off-grid smart mansion. They changed the physical locks, forged a marriage certificate, and planned to claim squatters' rights to legally steal my property. They laughed about how stupid I was, drinking my expensive wine and sleeping in my bed. But they missed one catastrophic detail. I didn't just buy that house. I am a cyber architect, and I designed its entire operating system. I came home a week early, but I didn't knock on the front door. Instead, I bypassed their fake locks, slipped into the hidden underground server bunker, and activated God mode. For the next 90 days, I became a digital ghost, turning my smart home into a psychological torture chamber for the parasites living inside it, before trapping them all in a glass cage for the FBI. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how I turned my dream home into their absolute worst nightmare. Grab a snack, because this revenge is best served ice cold. To understand how perfectly this trap was sprung, you need to understand the house. I am 31 years old. After selling my cyber custody firm to a major tech conglomerate, I wanted peace and quiet. I bought 50 acres of pristine, private forest in the mountains and spent 3 years building a masterpiece. It was a $10 million, fully off-grid smart mansion. It was powered by a massive solar array, had its own water filtration system, and the entire house was controlled by a proprietary AI network I coded myself. The windows were electrocambric smart glass that could turn opaque black with a single tap. The climate control, the doors, the cameras, the surround sound, everything was wired into a centralized server room hidden behind a biometric vault in the basement. It was my sanctuary, and I thought I was going to share it with the love of my life, Mia. I met Mia 2 years ago. She was beautiful, charming, and seemed completely uninterested in my money. She told me she was a freelance yoga instructor. I loved her, and like an idiot, I was blind to the red flags, the biggest red flag being her family. Maya's mother, Brenda, was the definition of an entitled narcissist. She was completely broke, drowning in credit card debt, yet demanded to be treated like royalty. Mia also had a brother, Kyle, a 28-year-old high school dropout who spent his life playing video games and smoking weed. Right before the house was finished, my former company begged me to fly to Germany for a 6-month emergency consulting contract. They offered me an absurd amount of money. I didn't want to leave, but Mia practically shoved me out the door. Go, Ethan, it's a massive opportunity, she had said, kissing my cheek. I'll stay behind, manage the interior decorators, and have our dream home absolutely perfect for when you get back. We can get married in the backyard. I gave her a secondary access code to the front gate and a generous budget for furniture. I kissed her goodbye, boarded my flight to Munich, and thought I was the luckiest man alive. I was actually the biggest fool on the planet. Fast forward 5.5 months. My contract in Germany wrapped up a week ahead of schedule. I was so excited to surprise Mia that I didn't call her. I just booked a first-class ticket, rented a car at the airport, and drove up the winding mountain road to my estate. It was 11 o'clock p.m. when I reached the main security gate. I punched in my master code. Access denied. I frowned. I tried it again. Access denied. Totem recognized. A cold feeling washed over me. I pulled out my laptop, connected to the gate's local network via a hardline port hidden in the stone pillar, and bypassed the keypad. The heavy iron gate swung open. I drove up the mile-long driveway, parking my car in the woods out of sight. I walked the rest of the way on foot. The mansion was blazing with lights. Something was wrong. There were 4 cars parked in my driveway. None of them belonged to Mia. One was a beat-up pickup truck. Another was a flashy, leased BMW. I didn't walk to the front door. Instead, I went around to the back of the house, pulled away a patch of artificial ivy, and scanned my retina on a hidden biometric panel. A concrete wall slid open, revealing a concrete staircase leading down to my subterranean server bunker. A room Mia didn't even know existed. I locked the bunker door behind me, sat down in my multi-monitor command center, then booted up the master AI. The screens flickered to life. I pulled up the 4K hidden security cameras installed in every room of the house. What I saw on those monitors shattered my heart, and then instantly replaced it with pure, concentrated rage. The house was trashed. Empty beer bottles and pizza boxes littered the $50,000 custom Italian marble kitchen island. In the living room, Mia's deadbeat brother, Kyle, was playing video games on my 100-inch LED TV, wiping grease on my custom leather sofa. In the guest suite, Mia's mother, Brenda, was sleeping soundly, surrounded by expensive shopping bags. At the master bedroom, that was the killing blow. The camera showed my beautiful, loving fiancée. She wasn't alone. She was tangled in my expensive silk sheets with a guy I recognized instantly. It was Chad. Her so-called toxic ex-boyfriend whom she swore she hadn't spoken to in 3 years. I turned on the audio feed. They were talking. When is the idiot supposed to get back? Chad asked, smoking a cigarette in my bed. Not for another week, Mia laughed, resting her head on his chest. Don't worry, babe. Mom's lawyer filed the paperwork yesterday. We forged his signature on a common law marriage certificate. And he's been gone for 6 months and I've been maintaining the property. My name is legally being added to the deed. We've officially established squatters' rights, and the physical locks are changed. If he tries to kick us out, the police will tell him it's a civil dispute. It'll take him 2 years to evict us through the courts. Chad smirked. And the servers? Kyle is running them in the garage, Mia said. Since Ethan pays the solar and satellite internet bills automatically, Kyle is running a massive crypto mining and dark web hosting farm. We're making 10 grand a week off his free electricity. You are an evil genius, Mia, Chad laughed, kissing her. We're going to sell this house, take half his money, and leave him with nothing. I sat in the dark server room, my face glowing in the blue light of the monitors. I didn't shed a single tear. I didn't feel sadness. I felt an overwhelming sense of calm. They thought they had outsmarted a programmer. They thought changing a physical lock would keep me out of my own fortress. I cracked my knuckles, typed the command into the terminal, and hit enter. God mode initiated. I didn't confront them. I didn't call the police. The police would just tell me it's a civil matter and force me to go through a lengthy eviction process. I wanted them to suffer. I wanted to break their minds before I broke their lives. For the next 90 days, I lived out of a luxury hotel in the city, but my ghost remained in the house. I spent 4 hours a day at my laptop, orchestrating a symphony of psychological torture. It started subtly. On day 3, Brenda was taking a hot shower in the guest bathroom. From my laptop 50 miles away, I accessed the smart plumbing manifold. I instantly cut the hot water supply to her specific shower and blasted it with freezing 40-degree mountain well water. Through the audio feed, I heard Brenda scream like a banshee. She ran out of the bathroom shivering. Mia, the water heater is broken. An hour later, when Chad went to check it, I returned the temperature to normal. Chad looked at Brenda like she was crazy. It's fine, Brenda. You're just imagining things. By week 2, I escalated. Kyle, the deadbeat brother, liked to stay up until 4 o'clock. I am playing violent video games. One night, right as he was in the middle of a major online tournament, I triggered a localized DMP protocol on his specific power outlets. His TV and console shut off instantly. But the rest of the house was perfectly fine. What the hell? Kyle yelled, frantically flipping switches. He managed to get up about 30 minutes later. The exact second he walked back in, click, power off again. I did this to him every single night for 2 weeks, until he literally smashed his own controller against the wall in a sleep-deprived mental breakdown. But the best torture was reserved for Mia and Chad. They loved sleeping in my master bedroom. The bedroom featured massive, floor-to-ceiling smart windows that looked out over the dark forest. At 3:15, I am on a Tuesday. I accessed the master bedroom surround sound system. I played the faint, incredibly realistic sound of footsteps walking on the hardwood floor. Chad woke up, terrified. Did you hear that? He whispered. Hear what? Mia mumbled. I triggered the smart glass windows. I turned them from opaque black to completely transparent, exposing them to the pitch black first outside. Then, I flashed the exterior floodlights on and off for exactly 0.5 seconds, just long enough to be absolutely terrifying. Someone is outside, Chad screamed, jumping out of bed. He grabbed a baseball bat and ran to the front door. He stepped outside onto the porch in his underwear to look around. The moment both of his feet were outside, I engaged the biometric deadbolts. Ka-chunk. Turned around and grabbed the handle. Locked. He pounded on the door. Mia, open the door. They locked behind me. Inside, Mia rushed to the digital keypad, and I had disabled the local UI. A screen simply read system update in progress. Please wait for hours. It was 35 degrees outside. Chad spent 4 hours shivering on the porch in his underwear, huddled under a patio cushion, while Mia cried inside, convinced the house was cursed. By the end of month 2, they were all losing their minds. They were fighting constantly. Brenda thought the house was haunted. I was paranoid. Chad was drinking heavily, but greed kept them there. They refused to leave because they thought the forged deed was about to clear, and they would be multimillionaires. It was time to spring the final trap. While I was driving them crazy, I was also systematically dismantling their illegal operations. I accessed the network traffic flowing through Kyle's servers in the garage. Mia was right, he was hosting a massive dark web marketplace and mining illegal cryptocurrency using my IP address and my solar power. I didn't shut it down. Instead, I quietly mirrored all the server data, unmasked the encryption, and compiled a pristine 500-page digital dossier. I sent the entire package anonymously to the FBI Cybercrimes Division. I gave them the exact GPS coordinates of the servers, the MAC addresses, and the names of the people living in the house. Next, I went after Brenda. Brenda was using the fake address to apply for massive lines of credit, claiming she was a co-owner of a $10 million estate. She had racked up $150,000 in fraudulent luxury purchases. I compiled her forged applications, her fake signatures, and sent them directly to the fraud departments of American Express and Chase Bank. Finally, I checked on Maya's forged deed in common law marriage certificate. She had actually managed to file them with the county clerk. That was her biggest mistake. Forging a property deed worth $10 million isn't a civil dispute. It's a Class A felony. My lawyers were sitting on the mountain of irrefutable evidence. The FBI was sitting on a mountain of cyberware evidence. The banks were furious. And Mia, completely oblivious to the legal nuclear bomb hovering over her head, decided it was time to celebrate. She sent out digital invitations to 200 of her high society friends, influencers, and local socialites. The invitation read join Mia and Chad for a luxury housewarming and engagement gala at our new mountain estate. Big announcement at midnight. She was planning to announce her fake pregnancy with Chad, show off my house as her own, and solidify her stolen status. I looked at the invitation on my monitor. I smiled. Challenge accepted, Mia. The night of the party arrived. The mountain estate was glowing. Mia had spent $30,000 of her stolen credit on catering, a live DJ, and expensive champagne. The driveway was packed with luxury cars. Over 200 guests swarmed mingling in my living room, admiring my custom architecture. Mia was wearing a stunning white evening gown, clinging to Chad's arm. Brenda was parading around, sipping champagne, telling everyone how she helped design the kitchen. I drove up the mountain in my matte black SUV. I didn't park in the woods this time. I parked right in front of the main doors. I was wearing a tailored Tom Ford suit. I walked up to the front doors. The bouncer Mia had hired put his hand up. Name on the list, buddy. I am the list, I said. I bypassed his shoulder, walked to the biometric scanner hidden behind the stone trim, and pressed my thumb against it. The heavy double doors instantly swung open. The bouncer looked terrified and backed away. I walked into the grand foyer. The music was bumping. People were laughing. I walked straight to the center of the living room, grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, and waited. It took about 2 minutes for Brenda to notice me. She dropped her wine glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Hey, Ethan. Brenda shrieked, her voice cutting through the music. The DJ stopped the track. The room went silent. Mia turned around, and when she saw me standing there, all the blood drained from her face. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Chad froze, his eyes darting toward the exits. Ethan, Mia stammered, her voice shaking violently. You? You're not supposed to be back for another month. What are you doing here? It's my house, Mia, I said smoothly, taking a sip of champagne. I thought I'd drop by to see how the redecorating was going. I have to say, inviting 200 trespassers into my home is a bold design choice. Chad puffed out his chest and tried to look tough. He stepped forward. Listen here, man. This isn't your house anymore. And Mia filed the paperwork. We have common law rights. You need to leave before I call the cops for trespassing. Call them. I smiled. In fact, save your breath. They're already outside. I pulled out my phone and tapped a single widget on my home screen. Vertical lockdown. Instantly, heavy titanium security shutters slammed down over every single exterior door. The loud CLANG echoed through the massive house. The 200 guests gasped in panic. What did you just do? Mia screamed, running to the front door and yanking on the handle. It was locked solid. I just engaged the emergency lockdown, I said loudly, so the entire room could hear. No one leaves, because if you look out the windows, you'll see the guests of honor have arrived. I tapped my phone again. The opaque black smart glass on the massive living room windows instantly turned transparent. Outside, the driveway wasn't just filled with luxury cars anymore. It was swarming with red and blue flashing lights. There were 6 police cruisers, 2 black FBI vans, and over a dozen heavily armed federal agents surrounding the property. Panic erupted in the room. Guests started screaming. Chad sprinted toward the back door, but the titanium shutters were impenetrable. Ethan, please. Mia sobbed, dropping to her knees. What is happening? Why are the police here? Well, Mia, I said, projecting my voice, the local police are here for you and your mother. It turns out that forging a $10 million property deed and committing $150,000 in credit card fraud is a Class A felony. The bank executives were very unhappy when I sent them your forged signatures. Friend, I let out a wail and collapsed onto a sofa, clutching her chest. And the FBI? I continued, pointing a finger at Chad and Kyle, who was hiding near the stairs. They are here for the illegal dark web server farm you've been running in my garage for the last 6 months. Did you really think you could use my IP address to mine illegal crypto and traffic stolen data without me noticing? I'm a Subar Kasurdia architect. I mirrored your entire heart, Doctor, 3 months ago. Hard looked like he was going to vomit. Hal started hyperventilating. You've been here for 3 months? Mia screamed, her eyes wide with absolute horror. Freezing water. The alarms. The doors locking. That was why I owe you. I am the house, Mia. I whispered coldly. I tapped my phone one last time. The massive 100-inch TV above the fireplace clicked on. That didn't play music. It played the 4K security footage of Mia and Chad sleeping together, followed by the audio of them plotting to steal my money and forge the deed. The 200 high society guessed Mia's friends watched in absolute disgust. People pulled out their phones, recording the ultimate humiliation. I walked over to the front door control panel and hit the release button. The titanium shutters rolled up. The FBI agents and police officers flooded into the grand foyer. Todd, Sterling, Kyle Vance, Brenda Vance, and Mia Vance, the lead FBI agent announced, holding up a stack of warrants. You are all under arrest. They were handcuffed in front of 200 people. Mia was sobbing hysterically, her expensive white dress dragging on the floor as the officers marched her out of the house. Chad tried to resist and was immediately tackled to the marble floor by 2 agents. Brenda was crying so hard her fake eyelashes fell off. I stood on my front porch, drinking my champagne, watching the police cruisers drive them down the mountain. The aftermath was a bloodbath. Chad and Kyle were sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for cybreak, morass, and grand larceny. Brenda was sentenced to 5 years for wire fraud and forgery. Maya's life was utterly destroyed. Because she was the mastermind behind the forged deed, she was sentenced to 7 years in state prison. The baby she was carrying? It wasn't Chad's. It wasn't mine either. It turned out she was sleeping with a third guy, a bartender downtown. I forced them to pay restitution for the damages to my house by liquidating whatever pathetic assets they had left. I hired a professional cleaning crew, sanitized the house top to bottom, and upgraded my security system to include DNA scanners. People say that your home is your castle. And they're right. But if you try to invade my castle, don't be surprised when the walls close in, the doors lock, and the castle becomes your tomb.